February 2nd, the New York Post went on to write headliner, Monica Lewinsky took Bill Clinton's eye off bin Laden leading to 9/11, says ex-aide. Veteran campaign pollster Doug Schoen writes in his new memoir that then President Clinton and his team were so distracted by the Monica Lewinsky scandal, they lost track of al-Qaeda terrorist mastermind Osama bin Laden, allowing him to later orchestrate the 9/11 terrorist attacks and slaughtered nearly 3,000 Americans. Schoen, who was a White House advisor and senior campaign aide to Clinton during his 1996 re-election bid, lays out the stunning claim of letting bin Laden slip away in the forthcoming Power, the 50 Truths, the Definitive Insider's Guide, which was published by Reagan Arts through Simon & Schuster. During his 50 years in politics, Schoen has represented American leaders on both sides of the political aisle, from President Clinton to a pre-presidential Donald Trump, as well as world leaders, including 3 Israeli prime ministers, including Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi and New York City mayors Mike Bloomberg and Ed Koch. Calls Clinton the Elvis Presley of American politics and the most accomplished political operative that he's ever met. But Schoen was baffled and disturbed by Clinton's lack of discipline that led him to have sex with White House intern Monica Lewinsky, derailing his second term, triggering House impeachment, and forever tarnishing his reputation. Schoen went on to say, in the book, I watched his unraveling happen close up, in painful slow motion from inside the White House. I watched the White House surreptitiously mount a whispering campaign to discredit Lewinsky. There was also, I believe, a serious impact on national security. On August 20, 1998, Clinton ordered cruise missile strikes against al-Qaeda in Sudan and Afghanistan in retaliation for the bombing of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. The strikes, named Operation Infinite Reach, missed Osama bin Laden, Schoen writes. Based by the Lewinsky affair, the Clinton administration lost focus and leverage to pursue him aggressively, and bin Laden struck again on 9/11. Trump and his campaign were able to neutralize attacks on his own alleged sexual misbehavior, including his recorded grab him by the pussy comments, by pointing to Bill Clinton's philandering as he faced off against his wife. But this ain't the first time that we've heard former officials in the intelligence service come out and criticize the Clinton administration for not acting on the information that was given to them during the mid-1990s. In fact, 2 years ago, the National Post would write about former CIA station chief of the Islamabad Post, Bob Greiner, in which the revelation is discussed in the Showtime documentary, The Longest War. Greiner, who was based in Islamabad, Pakistan, explained that the agency was permitted to engage in lethal activity against a terrorist leader, but could not perform a strike without the explicit purpose of killing him under the terms of the Memorandum of Notification enacted by Clinton. Greiner would say that we were being asked to remove this threat to the United States essentially with one hand tied behind our backs. There was also other times where the CIA tried to assassinate bin Laden, including one while he was in Khartoum in 1992. Legendary CIA case officer tried to assassinate Osama bin Laden with a stone. And yet, nothing became of it because the Clinton administration did not sign off on it. And to be honest here, there's been a lot of talk about the capture and kill program authorized by the CIA, but some of their opportunities was wasted upon using a drone predator program, which the CIA did not want to operate at the time because it was new. The Pentagon had released the drone program and tried to authorize in a principals meeting to get the CIA to use it to assassinate bin Laden, in which was not approved either by the Clinton administration officials or by the CIA's own director at the time. So the passing of the buck regarding bin Laden went around the table all throughout the mid-1990s, which led to bin Laden then relocating to the Sudan. I'm sorry, to Afghanistan, in which he was then surrounded by Taliban officers who did not want outsiders to basically interview him anymore for the fear of the repercussions from those fatwas that bin Laden and the World Islamic Front signed off on. The problem with the Clinton administration was twofold. One, it was a lack of direct information from the CIA and a lack of action based upon certain information which could have done something on the Clinton administration. And you have now, years later, CIA officials coming out, White House officials coming out and criticizing the Clinton administration, as well as they should. They've had many types of they have many chances actually to eliminate this adversary, in which the CIA basically did warn about years earlier. In fact, the legendary CIA officer that was in Khartoum at the time, who was going to kill bin Laden with a rock, was Billy Waugh, who was an independent contractor working out of the Khartoum base station. Who has performed special operations for the United States Army, U.S. Special Forces. In fact, the Associated Press will later report that Waugh played a typecast role as an aging American fitness enthusiast and would regularly jog past bin Laden's home, and said he often came face to face with bin Laden, who undoubtedly knew the CIA was tailing him. And CIA Director George Tenet will later comment, quote, the then obscure name bin Laden kept cropping up in his intelligence traffic, end quote. But as I've mentioned before, as well as other much more seasoned experts on bin Laden, such as Lawrence Wright, Paul Thompson, Ali Soufan, that the CIA had kept thick files on bin Laden even from the very early onset of the decade of the 90s. And they did not share this information, all of it, with the FBI, and probably by extension, the White House as well. The CIA, along with certain intelligence agencies like the NSA, like to hoard information for whatever reason, nefarious or not. But as you could see, that the Clinton administration does deserve some critique when it comes to the assassination of bin Laden and the perceived threats that bin Laden posed to America did exist in the mid-90s, and they did nothing with that information.